Hello, guys. This is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, and welcome to another live feed. We are ending eating disorders using nothing but your brain. And we're talking about overeating. We're talking about binge eating. We're talking about compulsive eating. We're talking about bulimia. We're talking about body hate and food obsession and all the food crazies that happen. You can be absolutely, permanently, all the way done with, not a problem anymore, normal eater, rest of your life, using nothing but your brain. And I know that for a lot of people, that's a challenging idea. And we're going to talk about this today for the three reasons, there are more than that, but we're going to talk about three main reasons, you guys, that some people still think that eating disorders are a disease. This is an outdated idea. It's a very harmful idea, but it's something that is perpetuated because there are a lot of people in the world that just don't have updated information. And so that's part of our mission, is to be able to have better information that actually serves people, because once they know they can be done, then they can be done. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful thing. And we've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times, but we're going to talk about that today and dive into it. Now, before we start, so fun to see you guys on. And feel free, hello hearts and hello likes, and feel free to comment or, make any sort of hellos you want to in the chat box. It's so fun to see you guys on. Hi. And let's just start with a deep breath. And some of the ideas that we're going to be talking about today can be a little bit challenging. They can be internally challenging. They can rock your world a little bit, especially if you didn't know this already. And so I'm going to coach you guys just like I, coach clients at a live event, just like when I speak in front of someone or a group of people that this may be new information to them. I'm going to teach you guys a tip that's really going to help you in improving your life, in being able to receive new information, in being able to live in a higher state. And that is, when you hear something new, understand that your brain puts it in the category of right and wrong. It's just a natural thing that your brain does this. Right and wrong, agree, disagree. It's this sort of black and white. Your brain tries to be efficient and just put it in a category. But the danger of this is that if it puts it in the, oh, this is right category, or this, I agree with this, then it starts putting other evidence and you start seeing anything you might disagree with, or you stop seeing the sorts of things that you might want to challenge and think through. And if you put it in the, I disagree with it, then your brain just completely shuts off to new information. Like, you could start out and be in this place where your brain puts it in the disagree category or wrong category, and there could be the most valuable, life-changing information in your life right behind that, but you won't see it because your brain becomes blind to it. So here's what you want to do instead to really be able to learn and grow and have a better life than you used to, because that comes with new information and new ideas and being able to do things in a more efficient or better or more effective way than you used to do it. Take a deep breath again. And instead of putting it in the I agree or I disagree categories, you want to be aware of that and then just try it on. Just try on the information without agreeing or disagreeing or saying it's right or wrong. And a great phrase that our whole community knows and uses is, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Tell me more. Isn't that interesting? Okay, isn't that interesting? And what it does is it allows you to be in a place of openness where you can actually get the value that is there for you that you are ready for at this time. And it's as simple as that awareness and then being in that place. So I want to give you guys this at the beginning, because what we're talking about today are the three reasons why some people still think that eating disorders are a disease. And waking up to this idea and knowing the reality of that eating disorders are not a disease, eating disorders are something that you can be completely done with all the way, no matter how long it's been, can be a painful realization depending on how much effort you have already put into climbing up a ladder on the wrong wall. So this is a normal arc for our clients who maybe after 25, 45 years of an eating disorder, they've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in treatment centers, in diets, in exercise equipment, in nutritionists, in surgeries. They have spent so many years, so much time, and so much time believing this. It's like an hour every single week for 20 years in therapy. And it can be a painful idea at first, especially when they start getting free, right? It's like we've had women who have come to us after 40 years of an eating disorder and literally in 2 or 3 weeks don't have an eating disorder anymore. And one of the first reactions that can come up is anger because of all of the wasted years. Anger because of all the ways that they've been lied to. Anger that they had professional after professional tell them, eating disorders, they're a disease, you're never going to be done with it, you're just going to live with this for the rest of your life. They looked to people to help them, and those people, probably not with bad intentions, just bad information, said, oh yeah, like you're never going to get done with that. And so that reaction of anger, especially when you've put so much into things that were never going to work and even made it worse and made it harder for you, can be a natural thing. And then the beautiful thing is that it gets replaced with, but I'm so glad that I can live the rest of my life free. So I'll give you an example. One of our clients, for her, it was about 25 years. She had spent so many years in therapy. She had done like everything. She'd done all the retreats besides surgery. She'd done pretty much all the things besides our program. And then she came and she did our program. And at about the 4-week mark, she was completely free. And she went through this very thing. She's just like, I'm so mad that I went and I spent so much time in therapy and I talked to so many people, and that would have never fixed it anyway. She got this sort of like anger of, I could have done that for the rest of my life. I could have been a 65-year-old woman sitting in a therapist's office saying, well, I've just got to dig up one more thing because then maybe it'll give me some relief to just get through the day, or be able to have better coping mechanisms so I can live the rest of my life with an eating disorder without as much disruption. She's like, that could have been my life. And she got angry that if she wouldn't have found us, that would have been her track. And then it was replaced by, but I am so grateful that I did find the answer, that I am done, that I can live free, that I don't have to pass this on to my daughter, that I get to be able to have a dessert with my family and move on, that I don't think about food all day. It is a wonderful, wonderful and freeing thing. But it doesn't mean that when this information is new, it doesn't feel a little turbulent. So I just wanted to start out with that tip for you guys to just try it on with like, okay, isn't that interesting? Especially if you're somebody who still believes that an eating disorder is a disease. So let's get into number 1 of the 3 reasons why some people still think that eating disorders are incurable and are a disease. So the first problem is that most treatment makes it worse. This is a huge problem in the eating disorder industry, that most ways that people try to fix it make it worse. I'll give you guys a really simple example. One of the first things that people turn to for controlling their eating, especially if they feel compulsive or out of control, is more restriction, is a diet, is cutting out sugar or flour, is trying to make their options for food smaller, right? That's a very popular and common and accessible way to try to deal with that. Whenever you try to restrict your food or control your food, especially when you have an eating disorder, it makes it worse on multiple different levels. Number 1, it drives up cravings for all the things that you're restricting. Number 2, it tells your body to slow your metabolism and to actually hang on to fat and to not lose weight. Like, it does all sorts of things to do the exact opposite of what we were hoping for. That's why people will lose weight and then gain it back plus some, because for a while they're able to control it, but it makes everything more difficult. So you're taking a problem and you're putting another problem on top of it. Most treatment is literally the problem of an eating disorder with another problem on top of it once we start into treatment. This is a huge, huge problem because it makes it harder to fix. So I'll give you guys another example. A lot of people say, okay, there must be something wrong. I want to be healthy. I don't want to eat this way. There's something wrong with me. I'm going to go and I'm going to see a counselor. I'm going to see a therapist. And they come with, hey, I have a problem with food. Will you fix my problem with food? And then a professional sits across from them and does what they know how to do and says, oh, well, it's not about the food. It's that you're coping with something. So let's go ahead and dig up all the stuff from your past and let's try to figure that out. And you must have some trauma back there. There must be some reason that you're doing this. And so we have women that are literally in 20 years of therapy to try to figure out why they're trying to cope with food. And all it is a problem on top of a problem. It puts this huge wall up. I mean, therapy can be great and working through your past can be great, but in fixing a problem with food and an eating disorder, it makes it worse, because now you have this huge wall in front of you. Now, instead of going and it's 10 at night and there's a jar of peanut butter in front of you, instead of having this problem of like, how am I going to stop myself from eating all this peanut butter? It's, how am I going to deal with 45 years of trauma and sort through all of that and forgive all the people that hurt me and delve through and into all of my past? How can I possibly do that before 10:05? Well, I can't. I can't sort through my whole life and all of my trauma. So now I'm powerless in front of this peanut butter. That is the mentality that it's creating. So it makes it even harder to overcome that. So one reason why some people still think that an eating disorder is a disease, or an eating disorder is incurable, or you can never be a normal eater and it's something that never goes away, is because most treatment actually makes it worse. And so it creates this illusion of, wow, look at all the things that people try to do, and eating disorders just get worse and worse. It must not be that all of these things that we're doing are making it worse. It must be that the eating disorder itself, that person, that woman right there, it must be that there's just a flaw and a brokenness that will never change. And it creates this false idea. So the reason that we can reject that is because we have women that literally after 25, 45 years can come in and with the right principles be able to end their eating disorder and not have a struggle for the rest of their life with food in a matter of a couple of months of just practicing being able to break the habit of an eating disorder. And it's as simple as that. And so the first reason is that most treatment makes it worse. So it creates this illusion that, oh, eating disorders just can't be fixed. So number one is most treatment makes it worse. The second thing, and I know that this is a sensitive thing to talk about, but it needs to be talked about and it needs to be addressed. The second problem is that a lot of people get into careers to help other people to try to heal themselves. This is an epidemic in the community of healers. Oh, well, I struggle with food. I struggle with an eating disorder myself. Well, I'm going to become a psychologist myself and help other people with eating disorders. And hopefully, being an expert, it's going to fix me. Oh, I have an eating disorder. I, over exercise. I'm a bulimic. Well, I'm going to become a fitness instructor and I'm going to help other people get fit and healthy. And it's sure to fix my problem. Oh, well, I have an eating disorder. I've always had this compulsion with food. If I just know enough about food, then that's going to fix me. Plus, I can help other people. So I'm going to become a nutritionist. And what happens is that journey of I am going to fix myself through, even though I still have the problem, trying to fix other people's problem is a huge problem all on itself. Because we have people that are coming to professionals for help. And this isn't every professional, but this is a strong trend of us trying to fix ourselves through becoming an expert. And what happens is we have this population of experts that people with eating disorders come to that have eating disorders themselves. And so they're sitting across from someone and their client, their patient, has no idea that their doctor, it's like, doctor, cure thyself, right? It's like this person still has their eating disorder. They're trying to treat it in someone else. They're seeing that their client is not getting better, which is making them have less hope that they can get better. So they try even harder to make this other person better and they just get worse. And then this person gets worse. This happens all the time, you guys. We have a huge flood of people come to us who are experts themselves. And I absolutely honor that those experts are seeing that they need help to fix this and that they cannot truly serve the person in front of them unless they fix it themselves. Heal yourself. Get the help that you need. You cannot pull someone up to a place that you have not been. You cannot lead someone to a place that you haven't gone. And I know this is an unpopular idea because we want so much for it to be another way. But what we're committed to here is to tell you the truth. And so this is a second huge problem here. We have people who come to us that are psychologists that specialize in eating disorders. We have doctors come to us. We have therapists come to us. We have nutritionists come to us. We have fitness instructors. We have health professionals. We have high profile, tons of followers. Look at how healthy I am, people that come to us with an eating disorder. And nobody else knows about it. And they're trying so hard to help other people. I was in the same boat myself. I was literally leading 400 health coaches and 8,000 clients and really trying to show everyone how to be healthy. And it ate me alive, no pun intended, that I had an eating disorder and that I struggled with food. And that's one reason why I had to come clean. Like there was a point where it's like, I cannot keep going and still be in integrity with this. But there are people that will go decades being out of integrity, feeling awful about it, but it's now become their livelihood and it's now become their identity. So the second reason why some people still think that an eating disorder is a disease is because they still have an eating disorder and now they're professionals, and we have this pool of professionals that can't fix it for other people because they've never fixed it themselves. And again, it creates this illusion like, oh man, this is a really hard problem to fix. But it's just that we have so many professionals and then we have so many people that aren't getting the help that they need because people are attracted to those professions to try to fix their own issues. So the third thing that we're going to talk about is the really bad ideas that perpetuate. This is a huge problem why people still think that eating disorders are a disease, because we say it. We have bad information and we repeat it without knowing better. We perpetuate bad ideas, and this is how it always works. Good ideas change the world, but as good ideas come into play, they come up against all of the bad ideas, and it takes a minute to like change the tide. Like that's why we have a voice. That's why we do what we do, because this is a message that very, very, very much needs to be said. We need good ideas in the world, but there are some bad ideas that get perpetuated just because they're like the normal things that people say. If you go and you survey a bunch of people, you're like, oh, why does somebody have an eating disorder? They're going to come up with things that are completely untrue, but they're just parroting what they've heard. Oh, well, you know, those people that have an eating disorder, they just need a sense of control over their lives. And so that's the only thing they can control. So now they have an eating disorder. Oh, well, people with eating disorders, they are in a place where they just have no coping mechanisms. So they have to cope with food. Oh, well, people have an eating disorder because of past trauma and it gives them an eating disorder. So we have some videos on this specifically, but I just want to highlight here, you guys, what an insulting and untrue idea this is. That because someone else hurt you, like back in your past, somebody hurt you and it's not fair and it's not okay. But because of that trauma, now you have to have an incurable eating disorder for the rest of your life. Now you can never have a normal relationship with food because somebody hurt you 10 years ago. That is putting the victim in such a place of powerlessness and doom. It's just not true. We have had women that we've worked with that have been through horrendous trauma, like really, really bad for a very long time. And they share that with us like later on, like once they're free of their eating disorder, when they're with our grad group, like, hey, you guys, it's so nice to know that this has no power over me anymore. But we never once asked them about their trauma because it doesn't matter in getting done with an eating disorder. It matters like in life, and it's wonderful to be able to deal with that. But guess what? You can deal with that so much more powerfully when you don't have an eating disorder as another problem on top of it. So we need to stop perpetuating bad ideas, like the idea that an eating disorder is a disease. Think of how many, and a special kind of disease. It's such a strange concept that we have around eating disorders. So think of all the other diseases, you know, cancer or, you know, the flu or all sorts of diseases that we say, I have a disease, I am now going to treat that disease and now I'm going to be done. There are people that used to have cancer that are now cancer-free. We believe that. You can have cancer and now you don't have cancer. You can have a cold, now you don't have a cold. You can have an eating disorder and now you will have an eating disorder for the rest of your life and you just have to try to manage it because there's no way it's ever going away. And how dare you give people hope that they can ever be done with an eating disorder because it's better for them just to accept that they will always have one. What? Why? And I understand that a lot of that why comes from bad information being perpetuated from a whole bunch of professionals that still have eating disorders themselves and are passing on their lack of hope to the people that come to them for help, and the fact that most things that people try to help this make it worse. But we've got to break that cycle. We've got to break the cycle of these bad ideas and putting eating disorders in this light. Now, if that was the case, if eating disorders were an incurable disease and you just got it because somebody hurt you, or you got it because you had stress in your life, or you got it because of you didn't eat enough, whatever it is, and that was just going to be your life for the rest of your life, if that was true, then okay. Truth, good information is great. But the reason that we're speaking out about this is that it's just simply not true. This is not a theory that we're talking about, that people can not have an eating disorder anymore, that you can be just as normal of an eater as you were before you got an eating disorder, or even more of a normal eater than when you had then before your eating disorder. I know that got kind of jumbled, but you know what I mean. Is because we've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times that women and men all over the world have been able to get free of this. We are the best in the world at what we do. And when you have certain principles in place and when you practice them in the right sequence, you can change your brain so it doesn't have an eating disorder anymore, where you feel no compulsion around food, where you feel no obsession about food, and when you're even averse to it, just like a normal eater would be. We have had women go through our program where the best thing in the world before they got our help, like the most love-hate relationship, was to binge. Like, man, if I had it my way, I would just eat peanut butter and cookies all day long. I would just eat and eat and eat, and I'm so hungry all the time, and I'm such a sugar addict, and like, chocolate is the world, and like just feeling so compulsive and out of control with this. And when they don't have an eating disorder anymore, a month later, the idea of eating a massive amount of chocolate like they used to, like you couldn't pay them to do that. Like that just sounds really awful. Being overly full, having my stomach stretched out, eating a bunch of food and then throwing it up, it becomes this thing that they don't even identify with anymore because they don't have an eating disorder anymore. You have an eating disorder for as long as that eating disorder is perpetuated. And when you don't perpetuate it anymore, and when you know how to break that habit and break that cycle, then you don't have one anymore. This is the way the brain works. There are a lot of us that don't still suck our thumbs or wet the bed. Those are a lot of times things that we did earlier in life and felt completely essential for us and felt compulsive to us. And we don't even think about that anymore because we don't have those brain connections anymore. Those things haven't fired and wired together. Our brain is efficient. It's not going to hold on to all that old wiring when we're just not doing it anymore. And that's what can happen with eating disorders, and has happened over and over and over, hundreds and hundreds of times over, that you can just be done with it all the way. If you would have told me this back when I had an eating disorder, it would have been hard to hear. It would have been hard to hear that after all the trauma that I dug through and all the things that I practiced, and literally the years and years of trying to stick to a perfect diet and be so vulnerable and exposed in front of people, going through all of my faults and my flaws and being in tears and weighing myself and the accountability and all of the stuff, admitting my powerlessness, that all of that was for nothing. That none of that would have ever gotten me free. And I wanted so badly to be free. And honestly, I admire so much the women who come to us and still have hope in being free and still hear this message and say, yes, that's what I want. If that's possible, I didn't know it was possible. Now that I know it's possible, that's what I want. Because honestly, when I think about my own journey with how difficult an eating disorder is and how much it wears you down, man, another couple of decades of that, and I don't know that I would have still had hope. I hope that I would have had hope. But it's tough. It's really tough when everyone tells you that you're never going to be better, and you have all of this evidence around you that you're never going to be better because the very things that you're trying are making it worse. You don't have to be in suffering. You deserve a life that is better than that. You deserve a life where you can eat like everyone else, like the normal eaters around you, when you can go to a restaurant and be part of the conversation instead of obsess over the menu, when you can go home and sleep instead of binge, when you can wake up in the morning and not feel anxiety about what you're going to eat that day, where you can go on a spontaneous trip to another country and not worry about the food and just be able to have fun, where you can move on and do what you want to in life because you're not on a never-ending journey to cure yourself or to try to manage this one thing that has plagued you for the last 25 years. Life is so much better on the other side of that freedom. Do not let anyone tell you that you cannot be free because you have an eating disorder and that's this special kind of disease that you just can't cure. Thing is that it is easily reversed. There are some tough things out there, you guys. Like, I don't know how to cure cancer. I don't know how to do all sorts of things with people that struggle with what we're the best in the world at is ending eating disorders. And it's simple. It's not a complicated process. We even have clients that like have a period where they get wobbly because they feel like it should be harder. Like they have spent so many years just putting hours and hours into their recovery, you know, putting hours and so much effort and so much tracking and so many appointments. And like when they realize how simple it is, they're like, there must be something wrong. It can't be this simple. I'm used to doing everything so complicated. And then after a while, they just laugh at that and enjoy how simple it is to truly be done. But you can be done. Mark my words on that. We have the proof to back it up. Real women's lives all over the world that are done. But the reason why some people still think that eating disorders are a disease is because of the language that we have around it. We've got to stop that. Think of the word recovery, right? I'm in recovery. Okay, forever until you're in relapse? Are you just going to go between like being in recovery and then relapsing over and over for the rest of your life and just white knuckling and trying to be in recovery? I'm not in recovery anymore. Our clients aren't in recovery. Our clients don't have an eating disorder. They're free. That's the way that you absolutely can live. And if you are tired of living in relapse or recovery or framing yourself in something that I know deep down doesn't feel right to you, which is that you are broken forever because you have an eating disorder, the foundational step of being done, the very first thing that you must do is get clarity about the pattern that is happening for you right now. And we have a free breakthrough session that you can do that we are going to help you to get that foundation of freedom, which is getting that absolute clarity about what's happening. Because once you have a foundation of the pattern, then we know exactly how to end this and be on the other side of it. And if you're not sure, it's like, okay, well, I don't know, maybe I have an eating disorder, maybe I don't, maybe there's something else going on. Again, we are the best in the world at this. Like, we are experts. We will let you know if not, right? Like sometimes we have people come to us where they have these symptoms or they have these struggles with food, but it's not an eating disorder. But we do recognize and know what it is, and then we will know where to direct you from there. And we have amazing people that help with the things that aren't eating disorders, but sometimes show up as them. Like, we will let you know either way. But the foundation of freedom is that clarity. And then either we will show you how to be done with this and how to be on the other side of this and how to not have an eating disorder anymore, or we'll direct you to somebody who can help you with what you are struggling with. But either way, you have that foundation for freedom. And to have that free breakthrough session, you can go to lifewithlydia.com/apply. Again, that's lifewithlydia.com/apply. You'll see a calendar page there. We fill it very quickly. So snag a spot or get on the waiting list if you need to and be there. Be present for yourself. We're going to take this time with you, put aside about 60, 90 minutes so that we have time to answer all of your questions, be in a place where you can be present for yourself. We've had people, get a babysitter, take the day off work. Like, this is your life that we're talking about here. Like, really treat yourself with the worthiness and value that you hold and show up for yourself 100%. Again, that's lifewithlydia.com/apply. And this is Lydia, the Lifestyle Coach, signing off. Mwah. Bye, guys.